Awesome. Okay, we are recording. Wow, feels good to be back, you guys. Luis Morales here, health fitness specialist with Exos at Autodesk, and this is the 3 p.m. stretch break on a Monday, the first Monday back from the weeks of rest. I hope everyone got some good rest, did some fun stuff, had some happy and safe holidays. Before we get started, if there's anything that is tight for you guys or feels like it might need a little bit of extra love, go ahead and drop it in the chat, or you can say it out loud, doesn't matter. We can definitely work it in. I have a plan to address kind of the whole body today, but we'll do whatever we need to do to make sure everyone is feeling stretched out and included. Legs and glutes. All right. Yep, definitely got some good legs and glute stuff going on in this one. And then from Eric, lower back always. Yes, I have a really good one for the lower back in here today. It's kind of an active one. You're not going to directly feel, oh, we're just doing lower back stuff, but it will loosen up the lower back. So thank you guys for contributing there. Let's go ahead and get it started. What we're going to do is just start in a nice standing position, feet planted about shoulder width apart, relaxed kind of stance. What we're going to do is take those fingers and lace them together behind our back here, behind our hips. And once we interlace those fingers, what we're going to do is push them down to the ground and effectively kind of open up that chest of ours. Push those fingers down as much as you can. You'll feel that kind of chest open up, and then maybe you can look up towards the ceiling a little bit. You don't have to look straight up, but once you find a kind of position where you feel like the chest is really being stretched out, start to take a few deep breaths. Last one here, guys. You guys can release those hands on the exhale. And as we exhale, we can release those hands, let those shoulders come forward a little bit more. Great job. Okay, for this next one, we're going to get the whole body involved. And what we want to do is get a little bit of space in front of us, at least enough space so that we could kind of get down and do some push-ups if we wanted to. And what we're going to get into now is some inchworms. So in order to stretch out our whole posterior chain from head to heels, let's try first with the forward fold, pushing those hips back, reaching for the ground, letting our head hang for just a second. Your hands aren't touching the ground, totally fine. Do what you can, do what you can tolerate. And so if those hands aren't touching the ground, let's bend the knees so we can get the hands near the ground. And what we're going to do is start to walk those hands out a little bit, put some more weight into our hands and walk out until we can be in kind of a nice plank position. So bringing the hips down to about shoulder level, hands are planted right under the shoulders. And what we'll do now is we're going to plant those hands. So the hands are going to stay stationary. What we're going to do is push those hips up and start to walk those feet in towards the hands. Now, if this is your first time doing this, you might not get too far, and that's totally okay. I can feel I'm really tight and I might not get as far as usual today, and that's totally fine. Trying to walk those feet as close into the hands as we can. And then once you get there, knees bent or not, we can slowly straighten ourselves up. Coming up nice and controlled. Doesn't have to be violent or anything like that. And we're going to turn around and do the same thing. So pushing the hips back, finding that good forward fold, reaching for the ground, letting the head hang for just a sec. Remembering to breathe. Stretching doesn't work out too well when we're just holding our breath. All right, let's try and do that thing one more time. So walking those hands out, putting some weight into those hands, walking them out. Stay breathing here, guys, and we're going to walk those feet in. So push your tail up. Try and walk those feet in. Wow, my calves are tight. As best you can. And then we'll slowly straighten ourselves up. Good job, guys. Take a deep breath there at the top. Next up, we're going to get into, we're gonna come down onto the ground. Let's find a nice kneeling position. So half kneeling here, one knee on the ground, one foot out in front for support. Doesn't matter which side we start with. And what we're gonna do is stretch out the front of the hips a little bit now. So one knee on the ground, one foot out in front. What we're gonna do first is try and squeeze that glute of that knee that's on the ground. So same side here, my left knee is on the ground. I try and squeeze my left glute, find my abs a little bit here, push the hips forward just a hair. Right here, I already have some good tension here in the front of the hip. We don't have to push it any further. If you do, keeping that glute squeezed, let's take a few breaths and stretch out the muscles that flex the hip here in front. Now, if you want to exaggerate this stretch, you can reach that same side arm up too, and that will also kind of help pull the lat away from the hip. Focus on the breathing, focus on keeping that glute squeeze and keeping that tension in the front of the hip here. All right, slowly release that tension here, guys. Rock back onto that back knee. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So opposite knee down on the ground, opposite foot out in front. And also, if you're having any kind of issues with balance or anything like that, feel free to be near a wall or your desk or a chair. Put your hand on something. No shame in that at all. All right, so let's go through that same checklist. Squeezing the glute of the knee that's on the ground, finding those abs, pushing the hips forward a little bit, finding that tension, breathing into that tension. And then if you want to, you can raise that arm up, exaggerate the stretch a little bit, but keep that glute squeezed. That's one of the keys here. Nicely done, you guys. On that exhale, let's go ahead and release the tension here. Shift our weight back onto that back knee. And then what we can do, let's come down onto our backs here. We're gonna just lie on the ground on our backs. Angle this down so you guys can see what I'm doing down here. All right, so lying on our backs, what we're gonna do, a little bit of glute stretching here, namely the figure 4 stretch. This one's a really good one to avoid any kind of sciatica and other sciatic nerve issues that we get from sitting for a long time, which I know we've all been doing a lot. So let's place, I'm gonna start with my left ankle, placing it up on top of my right knee. What I'm gonna do is elevate that right leg now, reach through the gap between my left and right legs, grab onto the hamstring back here, and then pull that right leg a little bit in closer to my chest. Now, if the stretch is really intense for you, you can go ahead and rest that right foot on the ground and kind of pull that left knee into the chest. You'll get a similar stretch. Won't be as intense as this one. But once you find that good tension, let's keep the breathing going. We don't want to hold our breaths. Good job, you guys. I see you guys doing it. Everyone's looking good. One more nice inhale and then a long exhale. All right, let's slowly release that right leg. Let that right foot return to the ground. Same thing with the left foot now. Switching over, let's rest the right ankle on the left knee. Again, if this is really tight for you, just maybe pulling that right knee up towards your chest will give you that same stretch. But if not, go ahead and elevate that left leg, grab onto the hamstring there. And we'll pull that left leg in closer to us, exaggerating that right hip stretch. Find that medium tension, and then let's breathe. Good work here, guys. Last big inhale and then a long exhale. Slowly release that left leg. Return both feet to the ground here. And now let's go ahead and flip over on the hands and knees, and we'll sink back into our last stretch for this Monday stretch break. All right, guys, so this last one, we're on our hands and our knees here. We can go ahead and spread those knees maybe just a little bit wider than hip width apart. They don't have to be directly under our hip joints. Walk those hands kind of straight out in front of us so they're not under the shoulders anymore. And from here, let's sink back into some good old-fashioned child's pose. Great stretch for kind of the hips and the low back here. Let's pair it up with that good breathing that we've been doing. Just a couple nice inhales and then longer exhales. Just calm ourselves down. One more breath here, guys. Nicely done. All right, after that exhale, slowly go ahead and rise up out of that position. You guys can come into sitting, kneeling, standing, whatever's most comfortable. That'll conclude this Monday stretch break. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I love to see the new faces, old faces in here. It's great to see you guys again. If you guys have any questions or trying to figure out what's going on with Exos, with our class schedule and stuff, I highly recommend checking out our Slack channel and also checking out our SharePoint site. That's where you're going to be able to schedule consults, request classes, request stretch breaks, stuff like that, and then also see what our normal schedule is week to week. So go check that out if you haven't already. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Take care, and I will see you guys next time.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everyone.